Next question says, why do some consumers tend to favor price controls while others tend to oppose them? And so price controls are things like price ceilings or price floors. And so let's take a look at a pretty classic example of a price ceiling, and that's like the rent control in New York City. And so we would have our supply, oops. We have our supply curve and demand curve. We have quantity of apartments on the x-axis, and we have rent on the y-axis. And so at equilibrium point, we would have P star P star price for rent. And with rent control, what it essentially is it's a price ceiling. It's the government stepping in and saying this is the highest that the price can be. And so what does this create? It creates a shortage, right? We have quantity supplied is lower than optimal because the price has gone down to PC, and the quantity demanded has increased because the price has gone down to PC. And so what we're left with is two different sets of consumers. We have this set of consumers, which are those who get an apartment, and they're going to be very happy, right? If you're able to get part of the supply during a shortage for apartments, then you're getting this apartment for a much lower price. We can think of our consumer surplus. It used to be for these consumers, this is their existing consumer surplus, and then they get this additional consumer surplus because they're able to get this price that is lower than before. So their overall consumer surplus is increased. So these consumers are going to favor those price controls because they benefited from it. They got lower prices and they still get an apartment. What we end up having, however, is another set of consumers who don't get the price, who don't benefit from the price control because they were not lucky enough to get one of the few units that are being sold at this lower rent level. And so these people now no longer have a place to live, and they're obviously going to oppose the rent control, especially these people who used to be able to get an apartment, but now, so they used to have consumer surplus here, and now they get nothing because this is all deadweight loss. This entire region is now deadweight loss. And so we're left with this group, this division between consumers. Those who benefit from the price control because they're getting the shortage of the supply, and those who do not benefit because they're subject to a shortage of supply. And so that's one main reason. We can apply that similarly to price ceilings as well. And so let's take a look at the answer choices. Hopefully we'll see some sort of rationale similar to the explanation that we gave with this example. So a previous tutor says, the imposition of price control leads to inefficiency in the market. The binding price ceiling creates shortages as quantity supplied is less than quantity demanded. Excuse me. And a binding price floor leads to a surplus as the quantity supplied exceeds the quantity demanded. The benefit of price control is not equally distributed in the market, and hence some win and some lose. For example, a price ceiling restricts the supply, and consumers who are able to purchase at the lower price win, whereas others lose as they now have to pay a greater price in the shadow market to avail the goods. So again, a great answer, goes over the same concepts as we do, talks about both price ceilings and price floors, and gives a very similar example to our price control in the rent market in New York City example. So great answer. No issues with that.